it's just really, really grassroots. It's in my garage. It's the studio garage, and it's nice because I can just make some pancakes for the kids and then go out there and then make more pancakes and then make a couple of sandwiches.
Yeah, love it. So you've brought up a couple of things, and I think this is very interesting about your process and how you work with your clients. But I'm curious, do you, in general, are these commissions that you work primarily in, or do you meet the client afterward, or how does that process work that allows you to kind of tap into whatever the emotional part of what the client is thinking and feeling?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I would not say, Yuri, that the majority is commission. And I think to elaborate on what happens is I will get a designer, say, to call that their client needs something. And I'll say, I'll meet you over there with the client. And then what I do is I will take what I have that I just feel will work for this space before I even really see it. Or I'll say, just send me a shot. Is this for this room? Is it for above a mantle? Is it over a sofa? And I'll bring what I think architecturally or kind of, geometrically in terms of size would work. And 90%, once you get something in someone's home that the physical piece, instead of just saying, oh, I'd like this or that, it gives them such a gauge, well, wow, I didn't really think I would like that avocado or that splash of magnolia, peach in here. And they can gauge and say, I don't want that, I do want that. And then they usually actually just buy that piece, which is great, because I know for artists, it's very difficult to do the commissions. It's kind of like channeling what this person wants instead of what you're trying to manifest and what's coming through for you. But it's really worked well for me. But you've got to cultivate some type of local, like a local following and a local hub where you're kind of in on that. It's difficult for the mass to do it that way, but that's just how I do it, and that's really worked for me thus far.
Okay, so I love your process and that you actually take your art to people's homes, and in effect, you're showing them in real time what your artwork looks like on their wall, so they don't have to even imagine it; they just see it. And once they see it, they like it and they see something more of it. I think that's absolutely brilliant. How did you first get connected to the interior designers who are inviting you into their clients' homes so that you can showcase your artwork on their walls?
That's a really good question. You're good. You're a good interviewer. Because it's taking it and trying to understand it to help uplift and connect the other artists. I think what helped me is this. I am coming to, I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm coming from New York City. I've lived in London. I've lived in San Francisco. I've been all over, and I'm from here. So when I came back, it was kind of like almost had a little bit of like an edge in terms of like a resume. So people that knew me knew of me, I guess, so to speak, in a way. So they kind of felt, it's almost like your vibe, like that person kind of knows what they're talking about. That, and then really, here's another thing that I did too that's very strategic and not and just really avant-garde. Okay, so I am from literally like rural North Carolina. My family has been in that spot for 200 years, and we raised tobacco, and then that turned into soybean, but whatever. So I moved from New York and then Connecticut with my pig, my chickens, and my duck. and all these, and lived kind of like in my grandmother's house, like on the horse farm. Well, you realize in those rural areas that people are not attuned, nor do they care about your art or art in general. Like they're going to and be very satisfied with buying it at Marshall's or Home Goods, right? So that didn't really work. So what I did strategically was I moved into the hub of the city, and then used that as my studio. Instead of like buying real estate, I decided to make that my studio / home. So then I actually moved into the hub of where the people that had the disposable income and all the designers worked. So I kind of made myself absolutely so easily available geographically, because they'll say, well, I'm at so-and-so on Sunset and I can just go bring a piece over. I mean, that not everybody can do that, but that is something that definitely helped me be able to kind of let me into their space. And it's almost kind of like I'm serving as their interior decorator too, for people that don't hire them. They've kind of heard that word on the street is that artists don't know how to charge for their time, which is something I definitely need to work on, because time is money, and we are worthy and all of that, but we do have a problem valuing money like that, because money is energy. But what I'll do is I'll just have Amy come over, and she'll bring something that will make it look pretty. So does that answer that? I don't know how else. It's just really just trying to, and then all the local stores, like the high-end eyeglass shop that I saw had showcased art. I would go in there and I would say, hey, my name is Amy. I love what you're doing in the store. Like, let's couple up and have a cocktail party, and then you can feature your glasses, and I'll show this series that I have that's about seeing and like vision and that. And then I actually went to a winery here and spoke with them, and they ended up putting my art on some of their boutique wines. And then we had a big showing, and I sold art there that some pieces that I reprinted that were on the wine bottles. And then I called the show Rewind, and then I called one Cork and Canvas. And just, it's really, to anyone listening, I would just say, y'all you can think out of the box, because that's who we are. We're artists. It's just like, there are no rules. It's just putting, like, really just taking off the filters. Like, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Like, you can do any of it. Like, be your own guru, normal is a curse word. Like, our transformation isn't about mass appeal or what it's going to look like, or how someone's going to react when you walk into or approach them. It's also another thing I'm finding too, is that coupling up with Yuri, what's the word? It's like when you collaborations. That's what I mean.
Yep.
Collaborations. Okay. Oh, let me give you this other example, and you might need to speak. Why don't you do that, and I'll give you this other example, and then we stop talking.
No. This is part of what I love about this podcast, is that I don't have to do a lot of talking. I get to ask a lot of questions and get the other person to speak. So one thing I'm picking up on your story is and I don't know if this is natural or not, but your ability to connect with whomever it is you're speaking with, whether that's somebody who owns an eyeglass shop or a wine shop or other shops, and to connect your art with what they're doing versus the other way around of kind of like forcing your art on them. You kind of work in the opposite way, which is not a technique I've heard a lot coming from artists. But that ability to connect with people, is that something that comes natural to you? Are you naturally an outgoing person, or do you have to work on being able to ask and walk into these shops sight unseen and just ask the shop owners of what they're working on and introduce yourself?
Wow, that just gave me chills. Because I think that the answer is, I guess Myers-Briggs. I'm an introverted extrovert. I am. I typically don't really like people. I don't like doing that. I'm the definition of whether or not you're extroverted or introverted is really based on how you gather energy. And I gather my energy by being alone and painting or being in my zone. But that being said, I guess there's just something about me that I do, yes, to answer the first part of the question, it's 1,000% natural. When I am out and when I am speaking, it's almost like it's second nature. It's like I see you and I see me. It's like there is no line between the other person and myself. It feels very, very, very natural. So I don't know if that's something that's more intuitive and it really, I'll be so honest with you, it is not conniving and it is not premeditated. It's not to try to get an end result or to make money. It just comes out. Like this is a good example. I went into West Elm, okay? We know who West Elm is. They are part owner with Pottery Barn and Williams Sonoma. It's like a mod store, but they opened one in Greensboro. And I went in there and I mean, they're a corporation. So that's not, if you look at what I've kind of said, I'll partner up or, I'll go to the local eyeglass place or I'll befriend one of the designers and we'll just find ways to collaborate. But this is a corporation. So it wouldn't be like I could talk to the manager and just get my art in there. But I'm not kidding. This is what happened. So I go in there and I asked to speak to the manager and I said, listen, I'm a local artist and I really feel like my art would be complementary with your decor and whatnot. I mean, their answer is, we're a corporation. We don't do that. They have like maybe a couple of art pieces and then they sell thousands of those. Right. But somehow it came to me literally sitting there. I wanted to call it The Shape of Us, about how women, we transform, we're daughters and then we're mothers and then we are caretakers and our bodies change and we're full-time business owners. And she said, you're kidding, Amy. Like corporate just called and said they needed us to do some type of local fundraiser for women. And so we literally put together this thing and it sounded great. And then she said, I go, well, how are we going to pay for because I said, let's get this woman that's like a folk singer. Let's get her and then we'll just get some wine and stuff. And she said, okay, I go, how are you going to help me pay for that? She goes, oh no, we don't have money to pay for that. I said, okay, so listen to what I did. I contacted every designer I knew and every art shop, frame shop I dealt with, designer, printer. And I said, listen, you bring a bottle of wine, you bring some potato chips, you bring some dip, and you bring some cups. And I had 30 people. I printed up an invitation. We all were on it as promoting this. And we had a whole store with, public coming in and we had refreshments and then the art and music and we spent nothing. It was almost, again, it was like, what do you call it when you ask people like not a BYOB, but yeah, basically it's like, I said, I'm going to look at this like I'm inviting people to my house and they will bring something.
Potluck style.
Yeah. So I promoted them and then they promoted me. So I guess in summary, you kind of look at everything like, yes, you're building your business, but so is everyone else. And how can we all help each other,
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the hustle and drive. I'm curious then about